everybody. Welcome to our latest edition of Science Bytes. I am Miss Nicole with Bloomfield Public Library, and today we are doing bouncing bubbles. I'm going to show you how to bounce a bubble in the palm of your hand. And some of you out there might be saying, Miss Nicole, why are we doing bubbles in the middle of the winter and right before we're supposed to have a blizzard in Connecticut? And the reason for this is that one of our most important tools to be able to bounce a bubble in our hand is a simple little cotton glove. And these gloves are everywhere right now because we're in the middle of winter. And they're very inexpensive. They're only about $1 or $2. You can find them at Ocean States and supermarkets and pretty much everywhere. Now, at both of our physical locations, at Prosser Library and McMahon-Wintonberry Library, I prepared some take-home kits for this month's science activity. And in your kits, you will find a small container of Miss Nicole's bubble solution that includes the glycerin. And really, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's plenty for what we're going to be doing. So you'll have a small container of bubble solution. You will have what we can make into the perfect bubble wand. This is a science pipette. And normally, you would use this like a little eyedropper. You would squeeze the top, put it in a liquid, and then when you release the top, it'll suck the liquid up. But we are actually going to turn this into a perfect bubble wand with just a little thing we're going to do with a pair of scissors. And then the last thing you got in your kits was one of those magic gloves I was talking about. It won't look exactly like this one. It may be a different color, but it's going to be one of these magic little super stretchy cotton gloves. And that's exactly how we're going to be able to bounce that bubble in the palm of our hand. I want to actually share my recipe for an absolutely simple and foolproof bubble solution. Even though most of us end up buying bubble solution in the stores, especially in the summertime, it's actually very easy to make your own bubble solution at home with just a few simple ingredients. First, you need 3 cups of water. Now, if you can get distilled water from the store, that's all for the good. But I usually end up using tap water because I don't happen to have distilled water around. So just use 3 cups of water from your sink tap. You also need 1/4 cup of dish liquid, dish soap. And actually the best brand to use is Dawn. I don't know why. There's a special formula they must use with the Dawn dish liquid soap. That's just a little bit better than all the other liquid dish soaps, but if you have another kind of liquid dish soap at home, it is fine to use that. It also doesn't matter what color it is, what scent it is. Those things are sort of irrelevant. You just want to make sure you have liquid dish soap, not laundry detergent soap. You can't use hard bar soap. You have to use liquid dish soap. And this is an optional ingredient, but it makes your bubble solution just a little bit better. You want to add 2 tablespoons of glycerin. And glycerin is actually you may not normally buy an ingredient like glycerin for your house, but it's not a difficult ingredient to find. You can find it really at any commercial pharmacy, CVS, Walgreens, they all sell glycerin. It's maybe about $5 or $6 for a bottle this size. And again, we're using, if you want to, 2 tablespoons for your recipe. This, though, is an optional ingredient. It will make your bubbles just a little bit stronger, but it's not necessary. So if you can get this and you want to make a really good bubble solution, you can find this at any local pharmacy. But if you can't find that, it's no big deal. Now, fortunately, for those of you who picked up my kits, I've already made a big batch of bubble solution. Whenever I make bubble solution, I usually make 4 or 5 batches at the same time. So I multiply that recipe times 4 times 5. And I store it in something like a recycled milk container. You want something that's a nice solid container, some nice plastic container or Tupperware to store your bubble solution in. And the most important detail about the bubble solution is that you really want to let it sit overnight. It should sit and what we call cure for 24 hours. And that just lets all the ingredients meld together and it forms the strongest bubble solution. So once you make your own solution using my recipe, set it aside and 24 hours later come back to it. And that'll be the best way to use your bubble solution. You can use it before that, but again, you're going to get the best and the strongest bubbles if you let it sit for 24 hours before you start playing with it. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention that I had done a previous Science Bytes video about supersized giant bubbles. And you're going to see the link to the YouTube video below. You can also just go to our Bloomfield Public Library YouTube page and look at our playlists. Look at the playlist for Science Bytes, and you'll see the giant bubbles video there too. So if you want to get even more information about bubbles and see some cool things you can do with them, definitely check out the giant bubbles video if you haven't seen it before. Before we even get started playing with our bubble solution though, I want us to create our perfect bubble wand. And to do that, you only need your pipette, which I included in your kits. And I have more, so if for some reason something happens to your pipette, feel free to visit Miss Nicole at the Prosser Library location. I can give you another one. But you need your pipette and a pair of scissors. And all we are going to do is snip off the end of this bulby part of our pipette. And again, you don't have to measure precisely, and you also don't need to snip off a lot of it. So I'm maybe going to snip it off right about there. And again, there's no real finesse to this. So I'm just going to do this. And now I have my perfect bubble wand. You're going to blow through this end and dip this end in the bubble solution. And I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that. And so as you can see, you just dip the wide end into your bubble solution, and then you're going to blow through the short end. And there we have the perfect bubble wand. So now that we have the perfect bubble wand, we can talk a little bit about the bubbles themselves. One of the things that many of us have noticed about bubbles is they don't like it when dry things touch them. So if I take my dry finger and touch this bubble, it pops and disappears right away. Now I'm going to add another bubble to my plate. Now if I stick my finger in my bubble solution so that it's also kind of wet, I am going to be able to touch that bubble. Bubbles do not like dry things, but they're okay with wet, because what is one of the ingredients that makes up most of our bubble solution? Water. And water molecules like to stick to other water molecules. Something to also know about bubbles is that they have something called surface tension. That's what helps the water molecules and the soap molecules all cling together and form that bubble. And when something like our dry finger comes in contact with it, that surface tension disappears. Another thing that impacts the surface tension of the bubbles, specifically about our hands, is that we have a lot of natural oils in our skins. That's why our skin is flexible and doesn't crack and break apart. Without even knowing it or even feeling like our hands are greasy or anything, there are natural oils in our skin that keep it nice and flexible. And oil and water do not mix. So when those bubbles come in contact with the oils in our hands, they pop and that surface tension disappears. So how are we going to be able to bounce a bubble in our hand? That is where our secret tool, the cotton glove, comes in handy. By putting on a cotton glove, we are going to create a shield between our hand and the bubble. So the bubble will not be coming in contact with the oils on our hands. It will be touching the cotton glove. And by doing that, we will be able to actually hold the bubble in our hand and even bounce it around a little bit. Now you want to make sure, I gave everybody brand new gloves in their kits, but if you're using a glove you have at home, you do want to make sure that it's clean, because dirt is also something that bubbles will not like, and that will also affect the surface tension and make the bubbles break apart. So you want your glove as clean as possible, and then it's just a question of blowing your bubbles and catching them in the palm of your hand. So let me demonstrate. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off my rings on my left hand, because I want to be able to slip that glove on nice and easy. So I've got my glove right here. I'm going to put this right on my left hand. And now I've got my bubble solution on my table over here. You can't see it at the moment. I'm going to dip my pipette in it, my bubble wand, and now I'm going to blow a bubble. Oops. shake it a little. And look at that. Now the bubble is not breaking. I can bounce it in my hand. I can even gently squeeze it a little in my hand. Now eventually, that bubble is going to pop. It's just a matter of time. They aren't super durable. Bubbles aren't designed to last forever, but look at how much I'm able to bounce it around. Like that. Now the second I touch it with something like my finger that's not in a glove or is not wet, it's just a dry finger, there goes the bubble. Now, I was only able to give everybody one glove because then you can bounce the bubble that way. But if you had a pair of gloves at home, I'm going to put on a second one right here, you might be able to even bounce the bubble back and forth between your two hands. Let's give it a try. So first I'm going to get it in my one hand. I'm dipping my wand in my bubble solution. Oops. Give it a little flick to release it. So I'm bouncing. And now you can see me bouncing the bubble back and forth between both hands. Isn't that cool? Now I can hold it and squeeze it. And if I pound it, it's gonna pop regardless of what I'm wearing on my hands. And that, my friends, is bouncing bubbles. It's as simple as that. Now, definitely at home, play with it a little bit. See if you can do bigger bubbles versus smaller bubbles. See how big you might be able to get them. The bubble solution that I gave you in your little cup will keep for as long as you want to keep it. So just make sure when you're done playing, you put that little cover right back on top. It snaps right in place, and you can hold on to that bubble solution for as long as you want. Hopefully you will try making your own bubble solution too and storing it in a nice big container like I did. It's handy to have it around for lots of playing with bubbles. And if you didn't, again, check out the giant bubbles video too. That might be better suited for warmer weather. As always, if you need more supplies, feel free to visit me at the Prosser Library location. I am happy to put together some extra stuff for you. I don't have any more gloves, but I do have plenty of pipettes and plenty of bubble solution to go around. So feel free to visit me if you need any more of those supplies. So I hope you have fun playing with this one, especially if you're trapped inside during a snowy day. And I look forward to next month's program with everybody. Bye, everyone.